Like, this is issues that are about human rights, it's about equality, and I will make sure that I make a noise wherever I can, and I will make sure that I set up whatever organization and association I can. But I had to learn that lesson. I think it's an important lesson about when you stand with in solidarity and when not to speak on behalf of. And that was a big lesson for me. And that's why I titled this Human Rights Solidarity in the Student's Voice, because I learned that as a student. And so when I came to DUT, one of the first things I did was wanting to set up a feminist group, because I think it's shocking that in a university there is no feminist society, feminist group. Okay? I then wanted to set up some kind of LGBTI group. But everybody I spoke to was like, no, you know, we kind of have something, you know, we know each other, whatever. I'm like, so why do you have to go to Joburg for Pride? This makes no sense to me. You know, if there are things happening in Durban, why do you have to go to Joburg for it? Clearly there's something that we need to be thinking about and addressing and facing. So I offered a couple of people, I said, look, because I believe that it is important to have a safe space to speak, you convene it, I will support you. It's 2015. That person has already left the system. There is still no association. Not through lack of trying. And this is not someone who can say to me, oh, but Rene, really, this is not safe for us. No, because I said, I will be your support. You go and you set it up, and I will have your back on this. And I said that to more than one person. So I think that's just, you know, it's something I just want us to think about before we have our discussions in our groups. It's like, you know, when do we take on the responsibility for driving our own agenda? You know, and when we talk about what is needed to have our voices heard, you know, we must call it out and we must name it, but we must also take responsibility for when you are given an opportunity to do something.
The issue is much bigger because I think the big crisis in our country is one of discrimination, one of xenophobia, one of racism. Which brings it back to what Rene started off with: equality, dignity, freedom. And it's very important that within that context we do that. The LGB, yeah, you say it. But it must go broader than that for us. We can't do one thing and not do the other. It's got to be holistic that we take on addressing the position we find ourselves in.
I came because I think that discrimination of any sort is wrong. And people in a country that has freedom should have the freedom to choose. And choosing your sexuality is just that. It's a choice. It's not an abnormality. It's a choice that you make. It's a lifestyle choice, much the same as you choose the way in which you're going to live culturally, or by religion, or by being an artist, or by having a career. These are choices we make. And I don't think that it should be, for me, it should not be about proving medically whether you fit a particular bill. It's about somebody making a choice. And they're making a choice to live their life that way, and that's their choice. It's not anybody else's choice. And I feel very strongly.
I wanted to get your view on more research, more PhDs, etc., that must be offered by our universities, one in terms of developing public policy that can be adapted by different institutions in this country, and workplace, how they accommodate gay people, gay rights, etc., as well as in terms of research from a medical point of view, how much of certain conditions are medical. I really believe that I wanted your view on that.
So I definitely think that universities have a big role to play in public policy. Okay? I think you said, and I think that in terms of PhDs, I think absolutely there are institutions that offer PhDs in public policy, and I would support that. I think that, of course, I mean, I must declare that I don't necessarily share your views on the medical issues. So, and I think there were, during my term on the Formal Publication Board, I was in the appeal structure for 2 terms when it was the review board. And I actually brought it with me. I didn't know that someone would actually raise something like this. But one of the worst things I'd ever read was something called the Pink Agenda. All right? And this is something I thought it was bad. I mean, I wrote all over it, yuck, it's prejudice, it's homophobic. And because of my duties on this committee, this book was being sold in the country, and it would come out through a rights-based group who said, actually, you've got to read this journal, and you've got to make a ruling on it. And of course, we made a ruling on it, because actually we said, children should not get their hands on this. Because it really talks to some of the issues that you raised. And, you know, it's so funny that I still have, often I've thought of throwing it away and burning it, but I just don't believe in burning books. And I've kept it just as a reminder of how propaganda can work to undermine causes, you know. And it reminds me, so whenever I look at my bookcase, I'm reminded of this journal that's in here. And so I think that as an academic institution, of course, any institution that wants to engage in this kind of research should be able to. And they should. I mean, in WITS, public health, you know, unit probably is doing this kind of research for a while. So I think nothing stops researchers from wanting to do this kind of research. I just wanted to declare up front that, you know, I'm of a different persuasion. I don't believe that it is caused by this kind of health problems. And therefore I wouldn't be able to answer you, you know, authoritatively on this. But maybe somebody else in the room does know if there are people who are doing this kind of research, you know, in the country. But I certainly, I'm not familiar with it in this country, and I don't think it is.
I'm also located within an LGBTI organization here in Durban, but I guess my excitement about the conversation this evening was, one, I was worried that it's in the evening, but I was kind of hoping that at least people from the you know, from a learner perspective, but also from an academia perspective, would have been in the room, and hopefully beyond just the UT. Because for me and where I'm located, the issues and experiences of young people, especially within our high institutions of learning, leave much to be desired so far as wanting to be a student again.
The difficulty of actually trying to start such conversations within the institution. So I was very happy to see this advertised, and I was interested to see how people would engage around such issues within the university. When we want to discuss these issues, we usually have to try and sugarcoat it and call it gender diversity and call it other things. So for it to be called LGBT and be about LGBT was very, very encouraging for me. So that's why I'm here today.